Welcome to the Creative Coast's video podcasts featuring Savannah's top thinkers, business people, innovators, and creators. With host B. Ray, director of the Creative Coast. What follows are interviews running on the Creative Coast website this month. You can check out the podcasts day or night at blog.thecreativecoast.org.
Actually on the advisory board here at the Creative Coast.
Hello and welcome to the Front Porch. My name is B. Ray and I'm here at the Creators Foundry chatting it up with Francis Okechukwu. Hey!
Hi, V.
How are you, Francis?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing great.
Great. I'm so happy to see you and I'm excited. We're going to talk a little bit about what you do and some maybe mobile app development. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, I'm actually a student at Georgia Southern University, and I actually develop mobile applications. I work with the Student Enterprise Application Services at Georgia Southern University.
The Student Enterprise...
Sorry, it's like I think it's exactly what it's called. It's called the Enterprise Application Services. It's a part of the IT department at Georgia Southern University, but I work with a student division of it.
Wonderful. And tell me what the organization does.
So we develop mobile applications that part of the students use students use within the campus. So we actually into various applications for students within the university.
What would be an example of a student-used application?
Okay, one of the applications we did recently, not that maybe like 2 years ago, which I was very much involved with, is the Georgia Historical Markers app. It was a partnership between Georgia Southern University and the state government. So it's actually available on the App Store, on the iOS and Android devices, and it actually helps you locate historical markers within Georgia. So you could be anywhere in Georgia and you want to go visit a historical site, all you just have to do is type the location where you are and it can locate you to the nearest markers or the markers that are around your specific location.
So therefore I can learn more about the place I'm standing.
Yes, you can learn more about the history of Georgia. And we also
and
have
the name of that app is?
Georgia Historical Markers.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we also have other applications. One of them, which we're working on currently right now, it's been submitted, but it's already available on the Android App Store, is the Eagle Dining. It's actually called Feed the Eagle in You. And it's
Feed the Eagle in You. Great.
Yes, and it's used so that you can have menu. The students can actually get the items or the menus that's actually available within the dining commons, and they can know what menu is available, and they can go for it.
Wonderful. So you were involved in developing some of those apps. You're still working for the organization.
Yes.
And you are in Statesboro as a student.
Yes.
And you're studying physics?
I do have a physics degree, but
Okay.
at current, I'm studying mechanical engineering at Georgia Southern University, but I'm also taking a Master's of Science class in computer science at Georgia Tech. That's the OMSCS program.
So at Georgia Tech?
Yeah.
So you have some cross classes, I guess? Or
Yes, I take the classes online.
Okay.
The classes are actually meant for working professionals, so I'm actually registered as a student. I always tell people that, I'm actually in Georgia Southern, but I'm also a student at Georgia Tech, so I'm like doing
Wonderful.
two programs at the same
Luckily,
time.
they're not in the same football conference, so we don't have to worry about your allegiance. Is that
Yes.
Good. Now, you didn't grow up in Statesboro, Georgia.
No.
Tell me about where you grew up.
So I grew up in Africa, Nigeria, to be precise, and that was pretty. It was a very different terrain, different culture, But I always loved technology, and my passion for it drew me down here to Georgia Southern University. So it's been great so far.
And you have quite a story about your first time trying to download some software to pursue your passion.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. After my physics degree, I was so much passionate about software development, and I wanted to go into software applications development, but especially mobile applications. Unfortunately for me, in Nigeria, it's like a very much more difficult terrain. I couldn't get. There was actually virtually almost no electricity most of the time. That's what I'd say. And apart from the fact that there was no electricity, I didn't really have the funding to actually get the process done. To buy a computer, new MacBook or anything I would use to actually get my software learning started. So it took a while, but later I got to purchase this very old MacBook, used MacBook, and then I started learning. But unfortunately, there was no electricity. Almost everyone I talked to told me like this is not feasible. You wouldn't be able to get this done. But I kept pushing and kept persevering, and at the end, there were times when there was just no way forward. Like times when there'll be no electricity and maybe the power goes down for weeks, and maybe I can't get my backup power to work. So I'll probably be at home and go charge my laptop with a neighbor and come back, just for and work maybe like an hour or two every day. And that's how I actually kept on pushing until finally I was able to learn it up to push my first application to the App Store. And since then, it's been a great.
From Nigeria, you pushed an application to the App Store.
Yes.
In a place where you had a hard time, sometimes weeks on end, having electricity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really very like when I tell people my story, it looks like really very weird, but I was able to do that, and not only do that, I was able to push much more applications, and also able to set up a business. So we started a company with my brother, and we started a mobile applications development firm, a consultant firm, and we've been able. Right now, we probably have over 10 apps that are on the App Store for different companies that we actually, we actually have contracts with.
And how long did it take you to develop the technology or to download the software that you needed to develop this first app?
Yeah, with the software part of it, when I started, the internet access in Nigeria is like so slow. So it'll take me like 5 days. The way I did it, 5 days. The way I did it was I'll go to where my brother worked at the radio station, because that was the only place I knew that had a constant electricity, because they ran 24 hours. And I'll drop my computer there and just start the download. And that's how it was. 5 days later, my brother will call me and say, "Oh, your download is complete. Come pick up your computer." But sometimes I had to redo it over and over again, because I was learning from just books that were old, or maybe information that was outdated, and so it was more like a testing process. So before I finally got it down, I finally got it to work. It took me like 5 times trying that with different, but finally I did get it to work, and it really, like, the joy of it was that at the end I was able to get what I really needed.
Good for you. Now tell me, what's next?
What's next is I'm actually into so many things, especially I'm at Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech, but at the same time I'm also involved with different startups. A lot of those startups, like 2 of them are actually based here in Savannah. One is Plexer, and the other is Turby, and I'm actually working very close with them, hand in hand with them, and seeing how we can actually we can actually create like a very successful and very nice product. And at the same time, I also do some volunteering with the Creative Coast here, which has been awesome for me, with 1 Million Cups, and and I was also at Fast Pitch, last year, which was also Creative Coast, and Creative Coast also invited me for the TEDx, which I also gave a TED conference. So I think for me, what's next is I just want to see, I want to go more farther, with the community, and with what I do, especially with mobile applications and software development, and I want to see how I can improve myself. And
well, you're such a delight. Give us 1 second defining what Plexer is and what Turby is, in case someone doesn't know.
Okay. Plexer is a mobile. It's like a reaction sharing mobile application. So like you have maybe a video you want to share, and you think, wow, it's really so good, and then you share it with your friend. But at the same time, when your friend is looking at it, while he's watching the video, his reaction towards that video is being recorded, and that reaction is going to be sent back to you. So It's a totally different application from where it's coming from. It's really unique, because there's no other application like it, and I think people should try it out and see how fun it is.
And Turby?
And for Turby is actually a service application. For Turby, what we're trying to create is like a service application where if you need a delivery maybe for something you forgot or something you want to buy or something you need delivered to someone within a community, that we actually have people we're gonna get to, we call gophers, who are gonna go get it for you and deliver it to where you want it to, to where you want it. So it's like getting a delivery service from point A to point B very cheap and very quickly and efficiently.
Wonderful. Well, Francis, what a delight to have you as part of our community from so far, doing so many things.
Yeah,
Wonderful to
thank
have you at the front porch and being part of what makes Savannah awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the front porch. My name is Bea Ray and I'm here in the Creators Foundry at the Creative Coast chatting it up with Philip Brown of Perk Coffee. Welcome, Philip.
Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Hey, everybody.
So you're a coffee entrepreneur.
Yes.
You tell me about that. You woke up one day and said, I need some good coffee.
Yeah, I was a touring musician and needed a job to come back to when I was not away on the road trying to follow that dream, and got a job at a coffee shop and kind of at first it was just seemed like a neat place to work, and then started learning more about coffee and also service in a weird sort of way, and actually kind of started really enjoying it. And then also as I kind of went on the road a little bit less and got a little bit older, they made me assistant manager and then a manager and then general manager, and then I was with that company for a while, and then decided I wanted to get out of management.
Okay.
Because that's a tough one. The managers are always the people that do the most work at the least reward. So, and then I decided that I wanted a skill, that I could take with me, and wherever I wanted to go or whatever. So I asked our roaster if I could apprentice with him, and then roasted with the company for a while, and then decided to come here and do this.
So how long does it take to learn to be a roaster?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm still learning. I mean, I'm learning stuff every day. I have a lot of different.
Example of what you learned yesterday.
This is probably not all that interesting, but I'm working on the concept of development and playing around with the bean during the time when it's exothermic, and trying to develop the bean trying to develop the bean's sweetness and body without necessarily roasting it dark. So there's always this you want to develop the bean fully, but I don't like dark roasted coffee. So, there's always a challenge that you can underdevelop lighter roasted coffee. So this idea that you don't, they're sort of mutually independent. Like development is one thing and roast level is one thing. They're not necessarily
on the same
computer. Yeah, you can actually develop coffee at a lighter roast. It's just, it takes more skill, it takes more thought, it takes more planning, and it takes for me it takes, constantly trying to get better, which I kind of, anyways, it's kind of how I approach everything.
Awesome.
Just try to get better every time you do something.
And another thing you have to do is source the beans.
Yes.
That seems like a really big task.
That's really, especially with lighter roasted coffees, that's almost all the game. I mean, if you think about it, it's the same way with a restaurant, and if you're going to serve maybe a steak rare, you're even more beholden on getting a really great cut of meat. So sourcing is something that we take really, really seriously. I should say we do a lot of what we call sample roasting. So we get a lot of small samples from a lot of different places where we can get the coffees from, and we taste them blind. So we taste them, so we don't know what we're tasting, and we try to pick coffees based off of what cup we like the best.
And how big is that team of tasters usually?
Generally between 4 or 5 people. Okay. But generally I listen to what they have to say, but I like the idea of one person being boss.
Okay.
I think that's a
right you've earned. Do you know what it tastes like or what you want?
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea what I want. I definitely listen to other people, but I think one person needs to make a decision, and they need to be decisive.
Good for you.
Yeah, so.
So you figured out how to roast coffee. You figured out how to source coffee.
I was also taught. I mean,
I
didn't teach myself. I'm
sorry.
Yeah, so. Thanks, Charlie.
And you, yes, thank you, Charlie. I love the coffee. Good job.
He's great too. He's still roasting in Athens. They do a good
Wonderful.
job. Yeah. Although I will say I've kind of put my own spin on things. I have a bit different way I roast coffee than he does, but I learned a lot of the basics and a lot of theory from him.
But to be a coffee entrepreneur, you have to know more. You have to know how to sell the coffee.
Yeah, that's hard, but especially because we don't have any salespeople. So we don't try to sell coffee. Not that we don't want to sell coffee, but I don't like the traditional sales model of me walking in a place and being like, "Excuse me, may I have 5 minutes of your time?" or whatever people do when they sell things. Usually those are the people that drive me crazy. Like, I'm
okay.
like, do you really think you can walk in here and I'm busy? Like, come on. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound mean, but so we try to make sure that there's a lot of things that work in our benefit. So we first thing being that the coffee tastes really good. So people might have the coffee somewhere else and say, "Wow, that coffee's so good. Who did that?" And then they find their way to me, which I saw happen a lot where I worked before, where people would approach us all the time just because the coffee's out there. It's doing the work for you. And then the other thing is taking service and taking partnership insanely seriously.
Right.
And that idea of, every second that I'm learning, thinking about how that applies to each of my customers independently and figuring out how I can really kind of immerse myself kind of like holistically into their business and see how what I learned that night or that day or what I'm doing, how that might apply to this person, maybe not to that person. I'm not trying to kind
this
of
coffee shop or restaurant, making sure it's being brewed to the ultimate potential.
And that's what's good about working with somebody that's not, that you don't walk in and say, okay, you have this package, you have this package, and you have this package. Right. That's not really how we operate. So, it's for us, it starts with relationships during the sourcing, and then it moves to those relationships the same way with our wholesale partners.
And you make sure that you've helped your partners to brew the coffee in such a way that there's a scale, and we're not looking at you're looking at weight versus volume.
Yeah, I think that helps to take a lot of the guesswork out of it. So if you're trying to do something, get something to where you're happy with it, and then you want to make it repeatable, a scale is definitely a great option for that. It's something that's not unique to us. So a lot of people do it like this. It's just maybe it's not necessarily unique to a lot of the people we encounter, but I think that it makes a lot of sense. And I know that when I used to make coffee at home all the time, you'd put a scoop in, right before I press start, I would put another scoop in real quick because I didn't want it to be too, this way, right away, people think, it's so funny, they think, oh, you're using scales and you're using timers, this is so complex and such a big deal. But to me, it's actually just the opposite. It's actually just, there's no guesswork. You pour into a scale until it says 25 grams, boom. You're not thinking, should I put a little bit more, a little less? It's 25. Then when you pour the water over, you pour till it says, 420. You're done. You did
right.
it. And
so it's an exact. Just follow the rules.
It is. I mean, then you can adjust to taste, but you have data. You have things you can say. Oh, okay. Well, it brewed 4 minutes long. Too much contact time. I taste over extraction. We need to grind coarser. So then we can make decisions, educated decisions. If we don't have the data, then it's just a bunch of guesswork.
I totally get that. And you started Perk how long ago?
Almost about 5 years ago.
5 years ago. And you're now, coffee is served in how many locations?
That's a good question. I don't know. We gain some and we lose some all the time. Unfortunately, independent businesses sometimes don't make it.
Right.
Which is unfortunate. We've definitely lost a few good accounts that just did it for one reason or another, didn't make it. And then we've also grown quite a bit. Just recently we've things have been, in the last really 3 weeks, things have been crazy. We went from 10 Whole Foods to 32. So we're in 32 Whole Foods across the Southeast, and we filled a bag order. So last Thursday, I was in San Francisco taking an advanced roasting techniques course, and my plane there was weather, so I couldn't get back into the into the state, and I got a call from Whole Foods, and they said, "Do you think you could have us?" So on Thursday, do you think you could have 1,200 bags to us on Monday? And I said, well, if I can get back to Savannah, definitely. And my crew's so great, man. I got back. I flew the red eye Thursday night. I got back, came straight at my guys picked me up at the airport, took me right to work, and put me at the roaster. I had the roaster preheated already.
Wow.
And I roasted the whole day, and then I came back in on Sunday and roasted the whole day, and the packing crew came in all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And at 4 o'clock when the UPS guy came, we were taping the last label on the bags. Everything was hand packed, every single bag.
That's worth a high
five.
five. Nice one.
I was pretty impressed with the crew, and they organized all that. I didn't, again with the relationships, just hiring the right people and treating them well, and letting people try not to micromanage, and letting them step up. They were awesome. So, and then we just got an order for 1,500 more bags. Got to have that done by the 23rd.
Wow.
So
well,
it's
Philip
pretty
Brown,
crazy.
Perk Coffee, so wonderful to have you. Thanks
Thank you.
for being a part of the Creative Coast.
Thank you, and thanks Savannah. None of this would be possible. The last thing we want is for people to think as we grow that we don't need that support. Actually, we need it more than ever. We love our people in our Savannah, and letting people know that they can get a taste of Savannah in Nashville, Tennessee, or wherever their family might be, and stuff like that.
Awesome. Great point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philip. Hello and welcome to the Front Porch. My name is B. Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast. We're here at the Creators Foundry with Eric Reagan of Focus Lab. Hey, Eric.
Hey, how are you?
Super. So happy to see you.
Thank you, you too.
So tell me, what is Focus Lab?
Focus Lab is a collection of designers, developers, and other creative roles where we help companies make an impact in what they do. And we happen to do that through design, mostly, and through code. And our intention is to partner with organizations that we know share values that we have, and organizations that we know we can really add a lot of value to and impact their bottom line, whether they measure that in dollars or lives changed or both or something different. So
how do you find these people?
Right now, some of it's through referrals, but a lot of it is just from us sharing and showcasing some of our prior work. We put a lot of effort into getting our name out into a few different places, and so a lot of the work that we are fortunate to end up with comes our way because they see our work and they reach out to us.
Wonderful. And what does this mean? Expression Engine, I think, is that?
Expression Engine, yeah, that's just one of the tools that we use to effectively power a website. It's kind of a content management system. It's fairly small player in that market, but it's incredibly flexible and powerful, and we've been using it for years and years, and we know it like the back of our hands, and so we use that a lot.
So that's a tool that exists. You guys became specialists in utilizing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you talked about from design and development, I think was what?
Right.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about development. What does that look like? You're developing the back end of the website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, the development looks like it's to some people it looks like the Matrix, and to others it's just some words. Okay. It's interesting the different avenues that you can go with development in general. We do mostly what's considered front-end development, and that is basically taking a design and making it function the way that a designer intended for it to function in a browser. And then you have back-end development, which is kind of the logic to actually presenting content usually coming from a database or something that's dynamic. And we use something like Expression Engine to help us make the dynamic things easier to create, but also very easy to manage for our customers. So they don't have to always knock on our door just to change something on their website.
So you give them the tools that they can make those smaller changes.
Yeah.
And what about you personally? Are you more the design or the developer or both?
Definitely developer. When I started doing freelance work, I considered it designs by Eric, which was horrible because I'm no designer at all. At the time, I wasn't aware of that, though, until I actually met my business partner, Bill Kenny, who is a designer, who thought he could also do development. So we complemented each other quite well in that we were able to release the other from the skill that he didn't actually have as a skill. So I'm a developer by trade. I started writing HTML when I was 11. When there was no Google to search for answers. just did it for years as a hobby, and it turned into a kind of career path.
And how did that happen? You were 11 years old. You didn't want to go play soccer. You wanted to write code. Is that how that worked?
Well, actually, my dad was a teacher, a computer teacher, and so I would go into his class maybe once or twice a week. I don't remember, in middle school, in 6th grade. And part of what everybody there did was learning a little bit about HTML, which is almost normal now, but was weird then. And we were learning that alongside things like PowerPoint and other applications. But he encouraged me to just kind of look even deeper into it than the class suggested, and it just became a hobby. I still did other things, and I wasn't really doing it a lot, but it just kind of was the seed that got planted.
Yeah. So you still could do, okay. Tell me about your dad. He was a middle school teacher for computers, is what you're saying?
Yeah, he started, his first degree was music education, and he was a music teacher. And then he got another degree in computer science and was a computer teacher and has written software for a variety of companies, and he's still in software today.
Got it. And you have a little bit of a music background.
Our whole family, yeah. I couldn't grow up in my house and not have it in some way, I guess. Because my mom was also a music teacher. She taught for 30 some odd years before retiring to continue teaching. And my sister's a musician, my grandmother's a musician. There's music all over. So I wasn't going to get away without some kind of music thing.
And what was yours?
And well, that was the path I was actually on originally. I was a music major at Armstrong. And then the two things flip-flopped. I actually ended up pursuing the tech stuff, which was the hobby.
Like your dad?
And then music kind of became the hobby, and tech was the career. But for me, it was like guitar. Played a lot of guitar and sang. And when I was at Armstrong, my instrument was voice, so I studied voice.
And do you sing at all now?
You could call it singing, but not like it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have children?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
And are they going to be learning to code?
I would love it. I think that would be awesome. But funny enough, right now they're way more into music. I have a tendency to not really do much code or work things around the house,
right.
Or at least around the kids. But they both really enjoy instruments and music and dancing to fun songs and stuff. And when I get a guitar out, it's the whole, it's families having fun. So I think it'd be really awesome if they do get into code stuff, but I think I'm just around technology so much that I'm kind of over it by the time I get home. So it's not really out a lot.
Got it. But yet, so you're developing code most of your day as part and leading others, I trust, to be doing the same thing. And you're growing this business in Savannah, Georgia, which is offering jobs to other people who can do some of these things. What do you need from the community to make sure that Focus Lab can develop in the way that you would like it to?
Man, that's such a good question that I wish I had a good answer for.
Okay.
I don't know what I need right now, but I can say that it is, it's kind of tough to bring people into Savannah in our industry right now because you can easily work remotely, which we are open to, but we really want people to be in Savannah. And we're hiring multiple positions right now and going through those discussions, and maybe about half of the people we speak with are willing to relocate without really much question, but those are usually single people who have a little less to think about. But if it was, this may already be out there, so I haven't really navigated the waters yet, but just having a good set of tools to show potential employees just places they could live, schools that their kids could be attending, and other things that their family could be kind of plugged into. That's something that's going to be important to me, and I'm just now starting to actually look into having those answers, or at least having information I can start sharing with others. I do know that I've had a couple of folks be willing to move, but have family keep them other places. Right. So that's one thing that I'm slowly now beginning to navigate, because everybody who works with us in Savannah so far was already in Savannah, and then we have some people who also work from their homes in other states, who are some of them are open to moving here, but families that they have and commitments they have, the timing has to be right, and we have a really heavy emphasis on our team's livelihoods and just them being in really overall healthy states. So we don't, push people to move from day one, for example.
Right.
But yeah, that's not really an answer, but that's all I got.
That sounds connected to what you started this conversation with, which was working with organizations or partnering with similar values.
Mhm.
And this healthy state seems to be one of your values.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have a set of 8 standards. We call them our core standards. They're more or less core values. In a nutshell, my perspective on that is that I can't really hire somebody and say, here are the things you now value. So we call them our core standards. They're standards that we will hold each person to, and that we expect each other to hold one another to. And one of them is that we work to live. We don't live to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so we come here, we're doing purposeful work, and hopefully work that we, for the most part, really, really love. There's always, the stuff that we're not really fans of, but we overall really love our work. But then we go home, and we go to our families or our communities, and we do things that are proactive and not just grinding away at a job. So yes, the healthy life as a whole is really important to us.
Give me an example of 2 more of these work standards.
Oh, our standards?
Please.
Yeah. Another one is it's very, very vague, but we want them to be actionable. So most of them start with a verb, and one of my favorites is make it better. Kind of vague, just
Right.
it. But the point is that we can always be making things better, whether it's ourselves, our processes, our communication, our environments, whatever the case is. We want to push one another to just make things better. You said 2 examples, right?
Sure.
Another one, never stop learning. That's one that is really just, they're all important to me, but that one is really important to me because the industry we're in, for one, is rapidly changing. We can't afford to just kind of be used to what we know and stop learning things. But our whole world is just always changing and evolving, and there are things that we can just be learning. So the standard is to never stop learning.
Well, Eric, I've learned so much from you myself. Eric Reagan with Focus Labs. Thanks for being a part of the Front Porch.
Absolutely, thank you.
Of course. Hello and welcome to the Front Porch. My name is Bea Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast. We're here at the Creators Foundry, chatting it up front porch style with Eric Darling of E3 Media. Hey, Eric.
Hi, how are you?
Super happy to have you.
Glad to be here.
So, E3 Media, tell me about your company and what you're doing.
Well, we are, by we, I really pretty much mean I, and all of the freelance talent that I pull in on job to job. We can go into that in a second. But essentially, E3 Media has been around about 15 years. Started it in 2000, right after the turn of the millennium. And at that point, it actually went by a different name, Video Construction Company. And my services sort of branched out beyond just video. So I decided around 2005 it was time to change the name to something that was a little more all-encompassing.
Okay.
And so E3 is actually a play on my name and my 2 children's names, Evelyn and Eli. So
Wonderful.
it's the 3 E's, and it just sort of had a nice ring to it. So.
Great. And the services that you provide?
Well, essentially, we're a corporate video production company that encompasses marketing projects, training projects, sales projects, things along those lines for larger customers, business to business kind of a business. And we focus on companies that have 500 or more employees, tend to be the ones who need our services and are able to pay for our services. So that's essentially what we do.
And you're
in a nutshell.
creating a video.
Yes.
And so that means you have all sorts of cameras and lights and action.
Yes.
Right.
I own a fair number of cameras and other assorted video production gear, various and sundry audio, lighting, and whatnot. And then, of course, on larger projects that require it, we'll often bring in more and different and higher end equipment in order to satisfy certain needs. So, keeping it small with just me at the company, it makes us flexible, and I'm able to pull in things on a rental basis, both people and equipment.
And it's always for producing a video, or sometimes for producing a video connected to an event, or both?
Both, yeah, absolutely. We do, just this past week, we did a bunch of training stuff out in the field with multiple cameras running around and being crazy. And before that, we produced marketing pieces that ran at that event. So in a lot of cases, clients have needs that are sort of in multiple areas. So they'll need material assets that run during their program. Then they'll need us to video the program, and then they'll need material that we can deliver afterwards from that program that are deliverables for their own employees or their associates. So it just depends really on who the client is and what the project is. So there's a lot of variety in what
And
I
how
get
do
to
you find your clients, or how do they find you?
Over these years, I'm not doing a lot of marketing of my own business, and that's because I find myself to be pretty busy, fortunately. But at this point, it's mostly word of mouth. You know, I work with, I would say, the lion's share of the larger companies around Savannah in the area. So those people know me because we've done work together for so long. And the need for going outside of the Savannah area hasn't really been there before. So we're a Savannah company, as a Savannah company for sure.
And I know you've been helpful to us, so thank you for some of our events like TEDx. So
Absolutely.
but someone might utilize E3 Media, not necessarily for a huge event, but it could be for, as you said, a training video?
Absolutely, yeah. We do lots of training projects, and you know, those can be us sort of being there during a training event that's going on anyway, or it can be a specific video that has been created and crafted for a training purpose.
And what is your background that prepared you for this career?
I went to school at Penn State. Before that, I was making videos on my own as a high schooler. My mother introduced me to the video production world, where she was she ran an agency in Pennsylvania for early intervention, an early intervention clinic, and produced a series of videos and brought me along because I thought I'd be interested. And I got very interested and worked with those people a little bit and helping them make those videos. Went to school for it at Penn State and graduated with a bachelor's degree in communications. And then met my wife, who's from here. So ended up being fortunate enough to get a job at Cablevision of Savannah when Wayne Nix, who's now the public information TV channel director here in town, hired me to be a community producer there. So I worked for the Cablevision system here for a couple of years, and when that system got bought by Jones Intercable, a bigger company out of Colorado, I moved to Albuquerque for a couple of years, worked out there as a producer, and then decided to come back and open my own company when our first child was born.
Wonderful.
So that was 2000.
With an E name, although I forget.
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Yes.
And Eli's the other.
Eli's our boy, yes.
Very nice.
That's right.
E3 Media. So, what's next?
Hopefully more of the same. I'm not looking to change too much about the way that the business works. I think that I'm very pleased with the town, the clients that we have, the variety of the projects that we get to do, and you know, just more of that. It's great.
And what advice would you give to someone else who said, I want to create a company that will allow me to take care of a family and doing something that I love doing? What sort of advice would you give to?
Loving it is important. If you don't love it, you're not going to stick with it. I don't think it's very hard to start a company and stay with it. So expect difficulty is the first thing I would say. But and that goes no matter where you are. I don't think that's unique to Savannah. But beyond that, I think it's being resourceful, surveying what is available, what the needs are from the business community, and trying to answer those needs. I like to think that all of my customers are people, and I envision them wearing a sign on their forehead that says, "Help me."
Oh, great.
If I can help them, then I can make money. So essentially running the business successfully, or any business successfully, I think requires you to meet other people's needs. And so if you can think and be empathetic with those people, that's the first starting point, I think, to get going towards the right road for your business.
That is great advice, Eric. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Eric Darling with E3 Media. Thanks for being a part of the Front Porch and what makes Savannah so awesome.
Thanks for having me.